Who's the best unit in all of Fire Emblem Heroes? We're going to take 14 different tier lists, combine them into one to talk about who you should be voting for A Hero Rises. This is going to be a lot of fun, but first, I need to know who's been your favorite this past year? Who is the unit that you always end up going back to? But we're going to talk about Archetype Rankings, Hero Rarity, and the utility of the one-off. We're going to go over all of that. Let's get started.
You must understand.
Role compression means a lot of different things now because there's so many different ways that IS is doing this right now. For the purposes of this episode, I really want to talk about Mythics, Legendaries, Duos, Harmonic Heroes, Rearmed Attuned units, and Emblem Heroes. And the reason is they have specific ways that IS has allowed you to use them in more than one way. Let's talk about Emblem Heroes first, because these units define role compression. There is no greater role compression in the entire game, because this is literally a skill that you can assign to anyone. That is nutty. That kind of generosity and fodder just hasn't happened in this game ever. No one represents this more than Lyn. Lyn has been absolutely bonkers, and who needs movement when you don't even need to go across the map because you can just become a ballista? It's incredibly powerful, right down to the Marth Ring, which for older units is absolutely critical. There is no doubt how much these units have changed the game, and I hope IS is learning some lessons about what kind of power level they need to add to these, because so far they have been a bit overtuned. Let's look at the ranking though. If I'm looking, I have to put Lyn first in this group, but she's closely followed by Sigurd, giving your unit extra range as well as Kanto that can't be blocked by warp is incredibly powerful. I do have to say, saying Celica has lost a step is like saying a unit went from S++ tier to S+. This unit is still incredibly good. If you look at the others, they follow suit. I do have Marth ahead of Ike. The big reason is Shield Fighter. This unit really enabled you to use Aegis or Pavis in combination with Shield Fighter with just about any unit. And I mean, you've seen the results. They're absolutely crazy. But that's not to say Ike is bad. We talked about it before, but the units that are emblem rings, even when we place them in D tier, like D tier is A tier in any other category. These are fantastic units. But let's talk about some rearmed and attuned units. I can't say enough about the rearmed and attuned units this year. They have been absolutely bonkers. We'll even go down to what I have as the lowest ranked one, which is Soth. And Soth, I have played with an upgraded Soth, and he can actually really smack things just because of the rearmed privilege, where you get to inherit all of these other things and you don't have to give away your preference weapon or skill. That is incredibly handy and can bump units up that really have no right being there. But we even look at Lilina, and her tome is incredibly powerful and can be handed out to units to really bump them up as well. I have been really happy with the rearmed units as a whole. I've also been happy with the rearmed skills. We have things like Tempo, and Tempo, we talked about it, but this is a skill that I believe was powerful, was something that a lot of units needed but didn't break the game. I think they're really starting to dial in how they handle these units, and I think they've done an excellent job. When we talk about the rankings, and I did an entire tier list just on these folks, so I won't spend too long on this, but I have moved Hector to the top here. I think he is incredible in the current meta and is one of the few units that can stand up to the barrage of Lyn Ring users out there. But I mean, Tamara is still absolutely fantastic and is holding her own, albeit in an archetype that has fallen off a bit. Micaiah is incredible, and Layla has defined an archetype. She's one of the big risers from my last tier list. I did not expect her to be such a powerful hit and run unit, to the effect that she has made Freyr just absolutely necessary. I even run Freyr in light season because I'm scared of this unit being able to just disable my saviors. And you can't disable saviors right now and not just demolish the team because Lyn Ring. Lin Ring is crazy and it's everywhere. But even Bridget, who didn't hit quite as hard as I thought she was going to, still has excellent hitting power and has an excellent attuned skill. You will notice that I have Marianne a little bit lower than a lot of folks like. The problem there is refreshers in general have been pretty devalued. There are just so many different ways you can get refreshed right now that is no longer novel, and it's something that you can have on every team. It is so easy to get, and in every mode you can have extra actions to help you out. So again, all of these units are really good, so don't think too much on that, but you have units like Marianne who are excellent and are at the lower end of this. We do get into a bit of the lower level rearms after that. The Yahtzee, I think, had such potential, and they took up her B skill, and that drives me crazy, but she can still hand out some very, very powerful fodder. We already talked about Soth and Lilina, but Hortensia is the only staff unit that is rearmed in the game, and that itself has a lot of value. Duo units have been bonkers this year, and there's been one big theme if you look at a lot of these, and that's action economy. Action economy it used to be very much a summoner duels thing, and it is pervasive in every single mode now, including arena. You look at Lucina, and Ninja Lucina is a phenomenal unit who is a self-refresher and is just running rampant in arena right now. But even if you look at Duo Hathrin, who has the ability to grant someone another action if they have reposition, combine that with reposition gate, and that is a very powerful team. You have Sharena, who can get up to 4 actions, as well as Golveg. Just nuts. And Leon, who takes away actions and is annoying. But then we move into our harmonic units, and one of the reasons these are a bit lower is simply because Resonant Battles isn't a very deep mode. And don't get me wrong, I am a huge Resonant Battles enjoyer, but I spend hours looking at Aether Raids, and I spend minutes looking at summoner tools. It's a lot of fun, but it doesn't have a lot of depth. It means the units that are designed for this mode just inherently don't hold as much value. You combine that with the heroes being less than valuable themselves, it makes for lower level units. And these units can still be a ton of fun, don't get me wrong. Marissa in particular is one of my favorites right now, and I think as a support she is just phenomenal. We do have exceptions like Nagi, who are just fantastic saviors. Near save or far save, doesn't matter, this unit is incredible. But if you look at the comparison, Duos definitely won this. If we look at the rankings, that very much shows out, with most of the harmonic units being on the back half of this list. The one exception being Marissa, and I am just such a huge fan of this unit. But we look at someone like Lucina, and that is clearly the winner here. Hathrin, especially with the addition of the Lin Ring, has climbed up very high. She has almost as much support as Mythic Hathrin. But the thing is, you can use her in so many more modes because you don't have to worry about blessings, and she gets the duo bonus in arena. And honestly, she is a fantastic arena unit to have as a merge project. But even units like Robin, who a lot of people sleep on, with reposition gate, this unit can be used in every single mode and is a lot of fun. We've talked about some of these others. Sharena is obviously my favorite, and I use her at least once a day. She is absolutely phenomenal. And we go down to the Allirs, and the Allirs, there are definitely places they can be used. I just have trouble fitting them in on really any team, but except for select Summoner Duels teams. Other than that, I have a hard time getting them onto the map. And then there's Gold Mary at the end. I love Gold Mary. I love Bernie. This unit is tough to use. This year saw phenomenal unit design. I am so impressed with what IS has done this year. We can talk about game balance, and that is definitely an issue, but for the most part, we kept getting good unit after good unit after good unit, and legendary heroes were the exception. I am a little bit confused about how they went about doing things, and Corin just kind of heads the thing up and is easily one of the worst units to be released last year. We have Alir, and he faded off rather quickly, which I was a little bit surprised about, but we just got so many things to stop Miracle that it made him less good. I will say Shez is the auto battle king, and understand when I say that is not derogatory. I love seeing this unit just help me clear an entire map by pushing auto battle, and in one turn everything is wiped away. It makes me happy, but I don't know that I could call this unit exactly meta defining. Ira might be the exception, and we're still new into seeing her. I do like her a lot, and I love her potent support. The thing we neglect is you have to have a lot of true damage to get potent to work. But I want to talk about the Mythics next. And the Mythics, on the other hand, have been just bonkers, and the Neopets went crazy this year. And the biggest thing I want you to look at is the range of different archetypes that we got, from crazy supportive nukes like Rune to just solid frontliner supports like Larother to Neithogre, who everyone knows Neithogre at this point. Then we have Ekthanir, who is obviously a fan favorite and such a strong unit. Hathran has defined what a support can be, and we have Athos, who opens up the new reinforcement hero slot for defense. Summoners, these have been crazy. My one complaint is with Larother and Loki, and I don't know why they made them so anti-synergistic. On their own, I actually like Loki a lot, and I think she's a good unit. I don't understand what they were doing with them together, but let's look at how they rank. So I clearly have Larother in first. I just think he really helps in so many ways. I have seen him used on defense both seasons. I've seen him used in Chaos on offense. I have even seen him used on offense in both seasons as well. That's where we're at. You move on to Hathran, and you've got a lot of the same things I just said, although a little bit older. I don't think I need to talk about this unit. This unit's incredible. Rune has been a huge surprise, and I have a whole near showcase included in my last video on how to do damage on how crazy this unit is. Neithogre is Neithogre. Going on down the line, I wanted to make sure you guys saw that Ira, I didn't have her. I've got her about middle of the pack in this group. I still like Hresvelgr better as a melee nuke, which is why she goes just a little bit back. The fact that she's an offensive mythic versus a legendary also gives her a little bit of a boost, but these units were very close. I give the edge to Hresvelgr. Again, I think her damage output is just a little better. As we go down, I mean, we have the legendaries here in a pack with Poor Corrin sitting at the very end, and what can you say about that boy? These are the units that IS has baked in additional uses, and I think because of that, they should be considered in a higher light than other units around them. They definitely get a bump up because of that. But next we need to take a quick detour into the land of one-offs.
One more can't hurt.
Here's the thing. On a free-to-play income, no one can afford to do +10s anymore. It just doesn't happen. This game moves too fast. You can't do it. So most folks, when they look at a Hero Rises, they're looking for that free pull. And that means that unit that can be a one-off has more value to the vast majority of the community. And to be honest, it should have the most value to you as well. This is the type of thing where you can go grab a unit that you somehow missed that is very powerful and save orbs for something else, because Hero Rises rates are very good. So if you look at the units that aren't special, we have Neithogre and Felix. And honestly, Felix has fallen off a bit, but is still amazing as a one-off. And if you somehow missed out on him, he is definitely worth a pull when he comes back around. Neithogre is probably one of the best saves in the game, if not the best. That unit is absolutely incredible. When we're looking at Duo and Harmonic Heroes, I've got Lucina. She is a fantastic support and a fantastic nuke, and is just good everywhere as a one-off out of the bag. The same can be said with Hathran, especially if you're a fan of defenses. This is one of the best units in the game right now. The last one I have up there, and any unit that can give you Brave is fantastic, and Marissa is in that bucket. She is right up there with Cordelia and Katria, and trust me, those are very, very good units right now. For the emblem rings, if you're prioritizing which ones you want, I mean, it's clearly Lyn, Sigurd, and Celica. But I have to say, like, these are the must-pull units in the game right now, and you really want a one-off copy of as many of these as you can get, unless you have PM1 luck and you spend several banners trying to get Celica and she just won't come home. When we're looking at Mythics, I want to remind you, Lorathor is obviously amazing, but Rune can be used in that extra slot without merging them up, and they won't affect your score. So you can just have an extra Rune pop up out of nowhere and have an incredible nuke to help you finish off units like Neathogre. Hathrin is amazing as a support, and I talked about it. I'm gonna put him up here. I just love Shez as an auto battle bot. He's so good. I love him. When I'm talking about these attuned units, what I'm talking about here is if you don't use them as a fodder factory and just right out of the box, these are the units that are absolutely incredible and are worth it as units. You will notice I don't have Tamara up there because I do think she takes some investment. These units right here are good out of the box and are absolutely incredible.
Gutsy, aren't you?
I saved my highest priority for last, and these are the individual archetype rankings. I think this should be the main reason you look at voting in a Hero Rises right now. Those other things are important, but at the end of the day, what you want is a unit that is top of their class in some way. So we're going to go over the major archetypes right now, starting with melee frontliners, which are so important because Sigurd and Embla and now Ira and Hresvelger and all of those are just everywhere. These are the units that can survive them. Shield Fighter is absolutely important, and then we randomly have Asker, who is so bulky and no one got him. For my money, he is the best frontliner in the game right now and is absolutely incredible. For Omni tanks, I still have Neathogre as the best Omni tank in the game. It is so hard to be a save right now. You need someone as an Omni tank who can just stand out there on her own, and in a large way, this unit can. I'm not saying she doesn't need support, but there's a reason the entire community is up in arms about this unit. Next up, I do have Tamara. We talked about her needing support, but she responds so well to that support that she's a lot of fun to use. Then we have Johanna Ike, who is our speedy Ike. And honestly, I like this unit a lot, and I think he is third in line as the top Omni tank in the game right now. As far as Galeforce units, I cannot stress enough how good Galeforce is right now. Enemy phase is just in shambles, and these three units will help you absolutely blast through things and get you out of your enemy phase rut. Felix is still at the top, and the thing with Felix is that he negates traps, and that is one of the main ways you have to stop Galeforce. Sigurd is incredibly powerful as an AoE unit and gets extra actions for free, and Lucina can help you support your Galeforcer or be the Galeforcer. Either one, that unit is incredible. Far Saviors are very important right now, even with Lorathor hanging around. For my money right now, I still think Hector is the best Far Savior in the game, but it really depends on what game mode you prioritize. If you're talking about summoner duels, it's Neathogre. It is absolutely Neathogre. I just think the support that Hector gives out in the realm of stones, like stones are so incredibly powerful because AoEs are one of the main ways you get rid of units like Neathogre. But you could probably swap around all three of these and make an argument for it, and I would nod my head and say it's a good argument. These three are excellent units right now. We move on to range nukes, and honestly, these other two have more power than Lyn, but what do you say to someone who has 6 range and can do it from the back line, and you just set a Brave unit up next to her and suddenly she's hitting 5 times? There are definitely units that can survive that, absolutely, but wow, that is just incredible, and she just defines the meta right now. But that's not to say Lucina is bad. I will say, if I'm looking at purely nuke power, Bernie is up there, but in other ways, she has definitely fallen off. And if you look at support-wise, it's not even close compared to these other units. And I mean, that's something we neglect sometimes, but keep in mind, Lyn giving out Desperation is incredible. As far as the support heroes, I have Lorathor up first. It is... There might even be a case to break out these archetypes into buffers and debuffers, but the way I've got it now, I think he is more influential than any single unit in the game right now as a support. Lucina, we've talked about how phenomenal she was, and we've actually talked about all of these units here. I will say Layla as a support unit is really interesting, but again, I am just so impressed with what this unit does and how much she changes the game, how much she has made Freyr come screaming back into the meta. You cannot ignore her. For melee nukes, we talked about this, but you just can't beat Hresvelgar right now in the game, and the amount of true damage she gets, and I have a whole episode on how to deal damage and explaining why true damage is so good. Suffice to say, it's the way you kill things right now. She is phenomenal, but Ira is up there. Ira is a very good unit, and I know I was talking bad about legendaries, but if you look at Ira as a unit, she is very good. And Sigurd, that AoE is incredible, and it has such range, and he just blasts things, and he has made it to where you need Divine Vein Stone very, very badly in order to function as an enemy phase unit. So I'm going to take these a little differently and break them down into color from here, because that is important to some folks. And right now, the best green from this group is very much Lyn. Lyn is absolutely incredible. Probably the biggest controversy here is Hresvelgar behind Marissa, and I am a big Marissa fan, and I don't think it's really that hard to HP match to give more than one person Brave. The fact that she can give it at a distance is incredible, but it's hard to argue with Hresvelgar's nuking potential, and there are so many big-time tanks right now that she just crushes. That is a very close one right there, and you could argue that Hresvelgar needs to be above Marissa. For my money, I like Marissa where she is, though. For Red, I mean, I'm a huge Hector fan, in case you couldn't tell, but all the way down the line, where you really get into debate there is in that middle group. Nagi versus Neithogr versus Ira, and honestly, I do have Nagi edging out this version of Neithogr because it is harder to get this Neithogr support. I like the blue version better than the red version, but that's not to say she's bad. And if you are prioritizing summoner duels, I think those are flipped. But I think Nagi, especially with the AoE resistance, is phenomenal. Ira is next, but I mean, what you're really looking at there is Felix, right? Here's the thing, and we don't talk about this much, but Felix was incredible. But right now, Shield Fighter just flat counters him. Just absolutely demolishes him. It's not to say he's unusable. That would be silly. And you saw how high I ranked him in the Galeforce rankings. But in this group, I do have him at the tail end, and I'll level with you. Part of that is that most of you already have him. I try not to take that into consideration when I'm talking about these rankings, but I mean, it can't help but come up. But it's not for the reason you think. Because most of you already have him, most of you already have counters for him because you've had to. The counters have been developed for him. So that is why we have him lower, even though he is still an incredible unit. Blue's up next, and Neithogr is just a menace. An absolute menace. I have heard from all of you who have been playing against her in Arena. Bless you. That is so painful. I've seen the memes from Summoner Duels where it has two Neithogrs and it just has the turn counter running out. And of course, we've seen Aether Raids where she just goes up and solos things. I mean, we've all had experiences with this unit, and for good reason, because she's so powerful that everyone wants to use her. We've talked about these other units. Celica as a unit has fallen off, and that's why she's a little further back in this. But I mean, I cannot argue how good that ring is. And I have been back and forth about whether to put Ike or Celica. Those two switch places in my head a bunch, and this is where they ended up. If we're talking about colorless is very powerful. Lucina and Lorathor are both absolutely phenomenal. You've heard me wax poetic about Rune. I love him. And we have Asker, Asker is a very strong unit, but I believe these others have multiple use cases, and Asker has Frontliner, a very, very good Frontliner and a very powerful unit, but definitely towards the end of this group.
A stealthy?
Finish.
It's time. We're now going to combine all of that knowledge and way too many tier lists into one. So, without further ado, here is E tier. All right, I want to talk about this before we get started. We discussed how many good units there are right now, and honestly, this A Hero Rises is probably going to be the best one we've ever got because of the quality of these units. If one of these is your favorite, they're your favorite for a reason, and that's because they've been performing very well and you have fun using them. I even have someone in the Discord who uses Corrin regularly and just wrecks stuff, and I mean, that's phenomenal. If I'm looking at the rankings per the other units, though, I still have him last here. And we have units like Lilina, who I think is very good fodder, but because she's not a very good unit, she just doesn't hold up. And that is a lot of what this tier is. This is very one-dimensional, and it doesn't allow me a lot of growth or a lot of different ways to use these units. D tier definitely gets a little better, and I think the unit that I will catch flack for here is the Allirs. I have seen definite use cases for this unit in Summoner Duels, and I still don't think he's a good candidate for A Hero Rises. I enjoy the art. This is a fantastic unit. I just haven't struggled taking this unit out at all so far. If you disagree, I'd love to hear it. I always love to hear about different ways that folks are using units. The next one that I'm probably going to catch flack for is my Marianne placement, and I just don't think she is enough to get her past this. The reason that Thiazi is over her is how much better the fodder is that Thiazi can hand out. Not that they're a better unit. Marianne is absolutely a better unit, but the armor fodder right now is incredible and so hard to pass out, and Thiazi helps you with that. That is why she is ranked over Marianne. Marianne is still an incredible unit and very usable, as are all of these units in here. But because of the fodder, I couldn't put Thiazi any lower. Next up, we have C tier, and all of these units have definite places where they can still dominate, which is crazy when you think about all the ways that they tried to absolutely nerf Leon. Listen, this unit is still incredible in Arena. And if you merge this unit up, you're still using him there and you're still loving it. This unit is phenomenal there and is a ton of, I'll say fun because no one has to witness what you're doing. But anyway, Golveg just lacks hitting power. If she had more hitting power, she would skyrocket to probably A tier. Right now, though, she just can't take anything out, but she has a ton of actions as a secondary Galeforce initiator. Even in like that reinforcement slot, she's phenomenal. In Arena, she has a little bit of trouble killing things, but she's still very good there. Lumera, the fodder. The fodder is so good, and that is the main thing that these units want to do, but she also has Divine Vein Stone, which is phenomenal and very helpful. Other notables here, Fjorm has fallen off dramatically, but can still very much be used in Arena, and honestly is one of the only armors with no counter disrupt, so that is something right there. Athos is a possibility for a riser on this list. As of this recording, I am having trouble figuring out where to put him other than just having him in that reinforcement slot to have somebody else that the opponent has to take out. I really haven't seen too much that I can do with him at this point. From there, I mean, we have Felix. We talked about him a lot. We have my beloved Sharena, who I think is one of the best units in the game. But if I'm looking at Hero Rises, definitely C tier. Probably the unit that was very, very close to bumping up into B, but I just couldn't do it, was Duo Robin. And the reason we talked about this, but this entire year has been about taking and getting actions. What this means is that Robin isn't unique, and because of that, she kind of falls behind, especially when you look at the amount of true damage she gets. This is not a premier nuke. This is an okay support if you look in the grand scheme of things where so many units can get extra actions right now. Still a very good unit, and honestly, I love every one of these units in C tier. So one of the things these tier lists don't really do a good job of conveying is how even the playing field is. You can have two units that are right next to each other, but it doesn't convey that they're very close or that they're very far. From B tier up, I think all of these units are very good candidates for a Hero Rises. We have the Attuned Clump, and Attuned heroes are so valuable right now, and each of these has a valuable attuned skill that can be handed out. The reason that Erica is first on that list is because I think Null Counter Disrupt is a more powerful attuned skill than the others. She's also good as a unit, but I think that is the biggest thing that drives her above the other group there. Hresvelgar and Ira are two absolutely fantastic nukes. I do give the edge to Ira because I feel like she can be used in more places than Hresvelgar, and honestly, I like her support a ton. Dear Boy, I mean, the only thing that drops him below Ike and Marth is the fact that they're a ring. As a unit, Dear Boy is clearly above them and is a fantastic unit and is a lot of fun too. I think we've all enjoyed the addition of Dear Boy. And of course we have Hresvelgar, who the reason she is further up is because, again, she has that extra place she can be used as a Mythic, and that unit has just been phenomenal. I have Nagi up there, and I am still a huge fan of Nagi, and I still use this unit a ton, and I think she is an excellent savior as near or far. She has the additional place that she can be used in Resonant Battles, but I'll tell you, I didn't rank Resonant Battles use that much higher than all the others, although it does give you a tick higher. Let's get into A tier though. So full disclosure, when you're looking at total ranks, I am higher on Marissa than most people. I am getting a lot of use out of her, but that's a lot because of the way I play and my game style. A lot of others aren't quite getting as much use, but I think she's phenomenal. This is one of my favorite units to use in the game right now, and I think she is in A tier, although keep in mind she is at the back, so she definitely is on the edge there. Neathhoger, Mythic Neathhoger, the reason she is lower is I'm worried about her longevity. I just flat out, I think that they're going to have to release a counter that just obliterates snakes very soon, and I worry about that. And so A tier is very high, and I've said from B tier up, I would love to see these units in a Hero Rises. I wouldn't have hurt feelings if she got there at all, but I don't have her ranked as high because I think a lot of these other units either have had longevity or will continue to have it, and that includes Rune. This unit hits really hard. I just love this unit. She's not quite as creative as Layla though, and that is one of the things I honestly, if Layla got into Hero Rises, I would really be happy about it. I love using this unit. I think she lends herself to such creative play, which I don't think we see a lot of in the game right now. Very much when we're in a bulk meta like this is, does my nuke kill your tank? And that's really it. Layla is very refreshing in that she lets you move around the map and do crazy things, and I think that's a lot of fun. We have Hathran. We've talked about this unit. This unit is incredible, and we've talked a ton about Tamara. You'll notice I do have Duo Hathran over Mythic. There is a point to be made that frontliners have more value than nukes right now, and I have a hard time arguing with that, but I still think Duo Hathran with Linring on just about any team is value added, period. And that extends all the way to Arena. This unit can be used in so many different ways, and that's why I give her the edge up. I have Celica next, and we talked about her as a unit. And because she has fallen off so much as a unit, I almost dropped her lower, but I gotta tell you, Celica Ring is still one of the most valuable things in the game, and don't let anyone tell you differently. Despite all the nerfs, Celica Ring is just incredibly powerful. We have Micaiah next, and I keep thinking that I'm going to drop her down, and then she keeps having new uses. With Lin Ring, someone was just telling me about an Astra build that just absolutely destroys snakes, and I'm anxious to go use that. But as a unit, as a nuke, as a fodder factory, this unit is tops. This unit is absolutely phenomenal. And then we have Larothar, who just misses out on the S tier slots, but I think is a unit that everyone should have a copy of because of how powerful he is. We've already talked about all the different ways you can use this unit, and I mean, the tree is mighty. Next, we have S tier, and in my book, these are the front runners for a Hero Rises, and any one of these folks could win. Sigurd is good as a unit and as a ring, and is just phenomenal in the game right now, especially as they start to have battles with units and over whether they can warp or not warp. Giving a unit extra movement, especially from melee calves, is really great. And this cav has 5 range, which is just nutty. Neathogre, the thing that I think gives this Neathogre more value than Mythic is after Mythic Neathogre doesn't have the bulk to carry on, New Year's Neathogre is going to have Mythic support and it's going to help her out a ton. And because of that, I think she's going to hold more value long term. And I am a big fan of if one person has the stupid busted unit, then everyone should. I like a level playing field, and having her in a Hero Rises, I think it does that. And that is pretty great. Hector, I mean, we've talked about it. The thing that puts Hector over Neathogre, and we've talked about the support, and that definitely does it, because I had him over Neathogre in the far save department, but keep in mind, she was a better Omni tank, and Omni tanks in an enemy phase offensive realm are better than saviors. But the fodder, we talked about armor fodder, and it's so good. I like distant counter. It is not a game-breaking attune skill, but I like it a lot, and especially giving it out to armors is very handy and can help you out a ton in different ways. Then we have Lucina, and Lucina is just on another planet. If I had to pick 2 units that were definitely going to make a Hero Rises, it's Lucina and Lyn. That is my bet on that. We'll see how that turns out, but I think these 2 units are just locks, or as close as you can be. Now, once we get to the voting gauntlet, you guys know how that goes. And that anyone can win, and it's just absolutely nutty what exactly can happen. But Lucina is a phenomenal unit, and if you wanted to make this unit a merge project, there would be no better time. Lyn is one of the most powerful units in the game. Period. This unit is phenomenal in the support she gives, in the ring she gives out as a unit. Anywhere you want to put this unit, you will get impact from her. And because of that, because of how she is warped the meta, that's why I have her as the best unit in the game right now. So here's our full tier list, but we're not done yet. From here, I want to look at what the bracket could look like if we had this exact setup. And I mean, the top 4 would be Lyn, Lucina, Hector, and Neathogre. And I mean, honestly, this would be a fantastic Hero Rises lineup. You have your attuned unit, you have your duo unit for arena, you have your crazy busted unit in Neathogre, and you have your emblem unit. I think this would be a great banner for the community. There is a lot of value to be had by each one of these. If we look at what the losers bracket would be, and keep in mind, this is a thing. Every unit that you get into the voting gauntlet will most likely have their own banner. There is some debate as to whether they'll bring this back, but I have a strong feeling that they will. And honestly, this would be a pretty good banner too. I mean, we have color sharing with 2 Emblem Heroes, which is phenomenal. We've already talked about Larothar and Micaiah, and those are both really incredible units. This is a neat thing that they do, and this makes it a little easier to take the loss in that voting gauntlet, because we all know how absolutely stupid those voting gauntlets can be. I think I've talked enough, but I would love to hear from you. Who's your ideal top 4? Throw it down in the comments. If you'd like to know how exactly to kill Neathogre, I have a whole episode on how to deal damage. Go check that out. Members, you are amazing. Thank you for all that you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your Fehology real soon.